For all the talk of Google Glasses and Apple's smartwatch, I just have one question. When am I going to get my jetpack that I was promised? Investor Beat starts now. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Hill. The market taking a step back today, all the major indices down. McDonald's and Verizon, just two of the stocks keeping the Dow from moving higher. Joining me in studio today, Tim Hansen and Jason Moser. Guys, our top story. In an interview at a conference yesterday, Apple CEO Tim Cook said that his company has some incredible plans and that his staff has several more game changers in the pipeline. First, is this a good idea to be promising game changers?
Well, I mean, you can't fault the guy for being excited about the company for which he works. And I mean, I think that their record to this point speaks pretty highly of the game changers that they've introduced to us so far. So I think that's been the big question for a long time here, as we've all been talking about how cheap Apple stock is. And, you know, again, I mean, I think they have to reiterate that they're not just sitting there doing nothing, but when you have your companies like Google and Microsoft, all these other tech companies out there introducing new products and new technology, yeah, they're going to have to start talking their book up a bit, or you know, they're going to need to bring something.
Speaking of Google, he also took a little bit of a shot at Google, saying that Google Glasses, he doesn't think that's going to go mainstream like a watch will, and you know, adding fuel to the fire that Apple's working on a smartwatch.
Yeah, he definitely said the wrist was the area they were targeting. You know, it was kind of odd though to say that people who don't need to wear glasses won't wear glasses, because I immediately thought of sunglasses.
Right.
The world wears glasses, so I mean, there's a little bit of a pot shot that wasn't based in fact, but as Jason said, maybe they're getting a little desperate.
When you look at the stock, and we've talked before about the incredible run the market has had year to date, Apple shares down 16-17%. Are you interested at this price?
Yeah, I mean, I've been interested for a while now. I think, again, you have a company that has these devices in all of our hands all around the world, and just from the iPod to the iPhone to the iPad, what they've done has been pretty phenomenal. I'm excited to see what they can bring to the living room. I mean, I'm not convinced either that they're not going to introduce a ring or a watch at some point that's going to sort of change the game. Monocle, perhaps, to Mr. Peanut. So yeah, I think at these prices, it's certainly worth the price of admission to be able to take part.
All right, let's get to some of the day's movers and shakers. Tesla Motors down as much as 10% earlier today, proving that the stock is not, in fact, bulletproof. This can't continue. The run that this stock has had, they can't keep this up.
Well, I think this is a stock that's become detached from the business that it represents for a variety of mechanical factors, not the least of which is the huge short interest that's probably being pushed out of it right now. It's going to be a volatile ride from here, but you know, I think it's a promising company. The stock probably, though, is a little bit frothy.
Fresh Market's first quarter profits rose 15% and shares were up on the news. Nice quarter, but it hasn't been a great year for this stock.
No, it hasn't. It's still a small company and a relatively new player to the market. You know, I think the concern that I take away from it was that they actually missed estimates on sales. And I mean, anyone can really manufacture the earnings number, Chris. It's the sales that matter, right? But I mean, you look at this compared to something like a Whole Foods, for example. So Fresh Market has about 131 stores open right now compared to Whole Foods, 300 plus. And this is just a razor-thin margin game to begin with. So I like the company. I think if you're going to play this space, you got to go with a big dog and something like a Whole Foods.
Trina Solar down after first quarter revenue came in lower than expected. The Chinese solar company also lost more money than predicted. This is a pretty tricky space if you think about it when it comes to solar energy.
Yeah, this space needs to rationalize a lot like the U.S. airline industry has been doing. I mean, the thing about Trina Solar was sales volume was up, but sales number, the dollar amount was down because prices are falling so much. When volumes are up and prices are down, you've got a supply-demand problem that needs to be solved for.
And finally, United Natural Foods third quarter profits rose 9%, but margins got squeezed, and the company lowered guidance for the full year. That's never a great sign, but is this in fact a buying opportunity?
I think it could be. I'm going to stick with my big dogs theme here, Chris. The thing about United Natural Foods is they supply all these stores like Whole Foods, Fresh Market, Publix, and whatnot. So the more they sell to these grocery stores like Publix, their margins compress a little bit because the pricing power it diminishes. But still, this is the biggest player in this game by a factor of better than 2. And so really, the more they build this infrastructure out, the more powerful they become, the better they get at it. I think long term it's a performer. I definitely would look at it as a buying opportunity.
All right, that's going to do it for Wednesday. Let's look ahead to the rest of the week. Tim, what's a stock you've got on your radar?
I've been looking at Williams-Sonoma, which is the home goods retailer behind Williams-Sonoma and Pottery Barn and the various Pottery Barn brands. And everybody knows that housing is getting better. Home builders, cabinet makers, all those stocks have already responded. Williams-Sonoma really hasn't, but they're putting up good quarters. And as people move into new homes, spruce up homes to sell, just get more comfortable and go buy a new home, I think it's something that's going to benefit from a recovery in housing.
All right, Jason, what about you?
Well, nothing elicits smiles from investors and children like the word coal, and that's what Joy Global does. About 2/3 of their money comes from coal, and they're big into coal mining equipment. And their earnings are out tomorrow. With the low prices of natural gas, it's been a real sort of a headwind that they've been facing for a while now. So while the stock is cheap, it's cheap for good reasons, and I don't know that they're necessarily going to be facing any tailwinds here in the near future. So we get a better idea of sort of how they see natural gas playing out here, how things are going in China. That ought to be a good call tomorrow.
I would think Christmas would be a good quarter for them.
Well, you just got to behave. If you behave, you don't have to worry about coal in your stocking, right?
All right, for Jason Moser and Tim Hansen, I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
People on the show may have interests in the stocks they talk about, and the Motley Fool may have formal recommendations for or against. Don't buy or sell stocks based solely on what you hear.